We had a group chat. You know the type: neighborhood updates, lost cats, bake sales, HOA drama, and passive-aggressive complaints disguised as friendly reminders. I wasn't particularly active in it, but I paid attention. I followed the rules. I offered to help during events. I even brought cupcakes to the last block party. Then, one day I was removed. No explanation. No warning. Just gone. I texted the admin, Jill, from Unit 12, to ask if it was a mistake. She replied with a single sentence. "You're not really a good fit for the group anymore." That was it. I would have let it go. I should have let it go. But then they started mocking me in public. Whispering. Making jokes I wasn't in on. Even my mailbox started getting tampered with. My recycling bin mysteriously vanished. And I realized something. They hadn't just kicked me out. They'd declared war. And I wasn't going to play nice anymore. Like stories about revenge, redemption, and ordinary people turning the tables? Subscribe for more. And trust me, this one gets personal. I moved into the neighborhood 3 years ago. Clean streets. Friendly neighbors. Fresh flowers on every corner. It felt like the kind of place where people watched your dog if you went out of town, waved when they passed, and actually returned borrowed tools. But behind all that charm was something else, a hierarchy. At the top was Jill, queen bee of the block. Early 40s, toned, always in athleisure. She ran the Facebook group, the WhatsApp thread, and even the spreadsheet for who brought what to events. Her word was law. Under her were a few loyal lieutenants: Mark, the grill guy; Angela, the newsletter guru; and Beth, who somehow knew everyone's business before it even happened. Me. I was neutral. I showed up, I helped out, but I never kissed the ring. Maybe that was my first mistake. It started small. My suggestions got ignored. I wasn't looped in on planning meetings. I got skipped over for hosting duties. Still, I didn't make a fuss. It was just a group chat, right? Until it wasn't. I noticed it on a Tuesday. The messages had gone quiet for 2 days, which was weird. Usually someone was complaining about a barking dog or posting a meme about trash day. I opened the app again. Still nothing. Then I realized the group wasn't there anymore. It had vanished from my list. I checked twice. Searched it. Gone. At first, I thought maybe the app glitched. Maybe they started a new thread? I texted Jill. Me. Hey, did the group move to a new chat? I can't see it anymore. Her reply came 20 minutes later. Jill. No, we just decided it's better this way. Nothing personal. Hope you understand. Better this way. Nothing personal. It couldn't have been more personal if she'd printed it on a banner and hung it across my porch. I waited a few hours before responding. Me. Got it. Thanks for letting me know. I said it calmly. Politely. But inside, something broke. Because this wasn't just about a chat thread. It was about exclusion, power, control. And if Jill thought I was going to disappear quietly, she didn't know me at all. I didn't lash out. Not yet. Instead, I watched. I took walks at different times, made notes about who was hanging out with who, which houses had cars parked in front every day, who skipped HOA meetings, who let their grass grow too long. I learned their patterns. Jill had a landscaping service every Wednesday. Angela never walked her dog with a leash, even though it was an HOA rule. Mark left his grill out overnight, also a violation. Beth had 2 security cameras, but they weren't actually plugged in. Every neighborhood has skeletons. And I was collecting bones. I downloaded the HOA bylaws. Printed a copy. Highlighted every rule they conveniently ignored. Made a list. Cross-referenced addresses. Then I created a burner email. From there, I submitted 5 anonymous complaints to the HOA, each of them factual, complete with photo evidence. No lies. Just truths they assumed no one cared about. They started getting warnings, letters, even fines. By the end of the week, the group chat I was no longer in had to be burning. And I wasn't even close to finished. I wasn't in the group chat, but I could feel the ripple. On Thursday, I saw Jill pacing her driveway, phone pressed to her ear, waving her other hand like she was swatting flies. Her lawn crew didn't show up that day. Guess the HOA fine made her reconsider her spending. On Friday, Angela walked her dog on a leash for the first time ever. She looked down the street nervously, like a secret agent waiting for an ambush. By Saturday, Mark had dismantled his entire grilling setup. The shiny black smoker, the table, even the decorative lanterns, all gone. It was working. But the real reward came from Beth. She came to my door. She knocked gently, like she didn't want to be caught doing it, and gave me a tight smile when I opened it. "Hey," she said. "Just wanted to check in. I heard you got removed from the chat. Pretty harsh, huh?" I nodded slowly. Guess I wasn't a good fit. Beth shifted uncomfortably. Some people take the group too seriously, you know? Anyway, if you ever want the scoop, I'm still in it. And just like that, I had a mole. They didn't even see it coming. 2 weeks later, Jill hosted her famous summer soiree. It was the neighborhood event. Potluck, outdoor projector, overpriced wine, her husband trying too hard at the grill. Everyone got an invite, except me. Officially, anyway. Beth tipped me off. "They think you're out of sight and out of mind," she texted. "But if you showed up, nobody would stop you. It's not an exclusive party." She even included a screenshot of Jill's message. "Don't worry about my name showing up. They're off the radar." That was all I needed. I arrived 20 minutes after it started, carrying a huge tray of homemade brownies. People were gathered in the yard, kids running, neighbors chatting. Conversations stopped when they saw me walk in. "Hey, everyone." I smiled wide. I made dessert. Awkward glances. Forced greetings. Jill looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. "Oh," she said, approaching me with a plastic cup in hand. "I didn't realize you got the invite." "I didn't," I replied. "But Beth said it was open to the neighborhood. And hey, spot 23 is still mine, right?" She couldn't say no. I stayed for 2 hours. Mingled. Laughed. Made sure to be the most charming person there. And when I left, I made sure Jill saw all her guests hugging me goodbye. The party was more than a power play. It was reconnaissance. While I smiled and chatted, I was taking mental notes. Who aligned with Jill? Who stayed quiet? Who rolled their eyes at her when she wasn't looking? More importantly, I learned what she was planning next. A revamp of the HOA board. Jill wanted more control. She was pushing for herself as president, Mark as treasurer, Angela as communications lead. A closed loop of people who could gatekeep everything. Event budgets, maintenance requests, even parking space enforcement. Beth confirmed it later in a whisper during a dog walk. "She's rallying votes," she said. "Sending out emails from her husband's work account, so it doesn't look like HOA spam. It's shady. Perfect. Because now I had a new goal. Stop the takeover." I started organizing quietly. Speaking to the quieter residents, the ones Jill always overlooked. Retired folks. Renters. The introverts. I explained the plan, showed them the rules Jill wanted to revise. Gave examples of how she ignored their requests. And most of them. They were more than ready for a change. By the end of the month, I had 20 proxy votes in my favor. The next HOA meeting? Let's just say Jill had no idea what was coming. The community center was fuller than usual. Normally, HOA meetings drew maybe 10 residents. That night, we had 30, crammed into folding chairs, murmuring with curiosity. Jill stood at the front, flanked by Mark and Angela, wearing her signature "I own this neighborhood" smile. I sat in the second row, not saying a word. Jill opened the meeting like a well-rehearsed speech. "Thanks, everyone, for coming. We've been talking about streamlining our operations to better serve the community, which includes some slight updates to the board structure. She handed out her proposal, official letterhead, color-coded graphs, and phrases like modernized efficiency and streamlined decision-making. Translation. More power for her. Less for everyone else. Then came the vote. She passed out little slips of paper, clearly expecting to walk away victorious. I watched her scan the room, already calculating how she'd thank everyone for supporting her vision. Then I stood up. Before we cast ballots, I said, I'd like to propose an alternative slate of candidates. All of whom actually responded to emails, filled out maintenance reports, and didn't try to consolidate power behind everyone's backs. Jill blinked. What? I handed out my flyers, simple, black and white, listing me and 3 others, quiet, competent neighbors who were tired of her dictatorship. Then I raised the folder in my hand. I also have 20 proxy votes submitted in advance, signed and notarized. You could hear the air leave the room. I sat back down and watched her world start to crumble. The vote wasn't even close. Jill's proposal was rejected by a wide margin. Even worse, for her, I was voted in as HOA president. The shock on her face was almost theatrical. Angela looked like she wanted to melt into her seat. Mark actually muttered something like, "This is ridiculous," and walked out. I didn't gloat. I didn't cheer. I just stood up, shook hands, and took the seat she had just vacated. "Let's get to work," I said. After the meeting, people approached me, neighbors I hadn't spoken to in months. They smiled, thanked me, said they were relieved. Even the elderly couple from Unit 3, who never attended anything, came up and whispered. About time someone knocked her down a peg. But Jill. She stormed out. 2 days later, she removed herself from the group chat she once ruled. Beth screenshot it and sent it to me with a one-line message. You broke the queen. But I wasn't done. Because this story didn't start with HOA control. It started with exclusion. And now it was time for Jill to feel the very same thing she put me through. The next event on the neighborhood calendar was the annual fall social, hosted by the HOA. My first event as president. I planned it carefully. Casual potluck, bounce house for kids, outdoor games, raffle prizes donated by local businesses. I even set up a live jazz trio from a nearby college. Invitations were printed and hand-delivered to every household. Every household except one. Jill's. Beth asked if I was sure. You want to stoop to her level? I smiled. I'm not stooping. I'm setting a boundary. The day of the event, the park was packed. Laughter, food, music. People were happy. Free. Like a cloud had lifted. Halfway through, I caught a glimpse of her, standing at the edge of the park, arms crossed, wearing sunglasses and holding a plate of store-bought cookies. She didn't walk in. She waited. And waited. Until she finally realized. There was no place saved for her anymore. She left without speaking to anyone. And for the first time in a long while, I felt peace. Not because I had won. But because I had taken back control without losing myself. The Monday after the fall social, I got to work. With Jill gone, the HOA inbox was full of things that had been ignored. Maintenance requests, unresolved complaints, budget confusion, even a couple of overdue bills. It was a mess, but it was manageable. Unlike Jill, I actually answered emails. I listened. I scheduled repairs. I even started publishing a transparent monthly report for the first time in the HOA's history. The response was overwhelming. Neighbors who used to stay out of things were now volunteering. The guy in Unit 9 offered to repaint all the curb numbers for free. A teenager down the street created a website for event updates. People were engaged again. And Jill. She vanished. No more passive-aggressive yard signs. No more group texts under someone else's name. Just silence. I should have felt triumphant. But instead, I started to feel something else. Something heavier. Because behind the satisfaction of the win, I realized the truth. Revenge always costs something. And even when it's deserved, it can leave a hollow echo. It was a rainy Thursday evening when I heard it. 3 sharp knocks at my front door. I opened it to find Jill. Drenched. Hoodie on. Hair tucked behind her ears. No clipboard, no arrogance. Just her, looking tired and older than I remembered. "I know you probably don't want to talk," she said, "but I just need 5 minutes." I nodded slowly. Invited her in. She didn't sit. She stood in my hallway, shifting from foot to foot. "I deserved most of what happened," she said. "Maybe all of it. I let the group go to my head. Treated people like pieces on a board." I said nothing. "But what hurt most wasn't that I lost," she continued. "It was realizing that no one missed me." Her voice cracked a little. "I thought I had friends. But when I fell, they just moved on. You didn't ruin my reputation. You revealed it." I looked at her, this woman who once humiliated me, who removed me with a one-sentence message, and for the first time, I saw regret instead of pride. She took a breath. "I'm moving out. Next month. Just wanted to say, I'm sorry." Then she left. No handshake. No hug. Just closure. 1 month later, Jill was gone. Her house sold fast. People barely remembered what happened. Life moved on, and the community kept growing stronger. I kept the HOA role for another year before passing it to someone else. Someone kind, fair, and ready to lead without ego. It felt right. The group chat still existed, but now it was lighter. More memes, less drama. More help requests, fewer power plays. People talked again. To each other. With each other. And me. I stopped watching from my window. I started participating, not to prove anything, but because I wanted to. Because I belonged. And sometimes, that's the real victory. Not the dramatic downfall or the perfect revenge arc. But finding peace where there was once tension. Finding your voice after someone tried to silence it. And most of all, knowing you never had to become the villain to win. A few weeks after Jill moved out, I found an envelope in my mailbox. No name. Just my address written in clean block letters. I opened it slowly, half expecting something snide or anonymous. But inside was a note. Handwritten. 1 page. Neatly folded. "You changed the neighborhood." I was angry at first, but then I realized you didn't destroy anything. You just exposed what was already broken. I'm not good at apologies. I built walls because I thought it kept me in control. But really, it just kept people away. Thanks for making me see that. J. No return address. No signature. But I didn't need one. She didn't ask for forgiveness, and I didn't need to give it. But for the first time since all this began, I felt something unexpected toward her. Empathy. Spring arrived, and with it came change. New neighbors moved into Jill's old place, a couple with 2 kids and a Labrador who constantly barked at squirrels. They introduced themselves on day 1, invited the whole block to a barbecue, and actually asked about rules before putting up string lights on their porch. They brought light to the block in more ways than one. The HOA was running smoothly. Community projects were being completed. People who used to avoid eye contact were now regulars at monthly meetings. The group chat was full of birthday wishes, lost pet alerts, and shared tools. There was even talk of a community garden. Something Jill once dismissed as unnecessary dirt. I volunteered to help organize it. Not because I had something to prove, but because I finally felt rooted in the place I lived. There's power in being heard. But there's grace in listening. And that's what I learned through it all. 6 months after Jill moved out, I was walking Winston down the street when a familiar face waved from a car. Beth. She pulled over, lowered the window. "Hey," she said. "You'll never guess who I ran into last week." I raised an eyebrow. "Jill." She nodded. She's working part-time at a non-profit downtown. Guess what they do? What? Community conflict resolution. I couldn't help but laugh. Beth did too. Crazy, right? She said. She said she's different now. Honestly, I kind of believe her. I didn't know what to say, so I just smiled. Maybe people really do change, I said. Beth paused. Or maybe they just need someone to knock down the walls they built around themselves. As she drove off, I looked around the neighborhood. Same houses, same sidewalks, but everything had changed. And it all started with a removal from a group chat. They thought they were pushing me out. But really, they pushed me forward.